This is Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work, responding to another Ask Prof. Wolff question from our Patreon community. This question comes from Eric Wolfner and is a bit complicated, but very much on target in terms of the inflation we're suffering, of the decline of American capitalism, and the whole discussion of alternative ways of organizing work. And these issues are brought together by the question. Eric asks first, might it help the competitiveness of American capitalist businesses if certain key areas of the economy were turned over to worker co-ops? If worker co-ops would be a way to cheapen the cost of certain products compared with leaving them in the hands of capitalists, then if those products are inputs to other capitalists, they would be helped in the process. And the obvious examples for this, and he lists them correctly, the first and obvious example would be healthcare, and the second and obvious one would be energy. In other words, anything that would lower the cost of energy and of healthcare would be an enormous savings to every business in the country because it would make crucial costs of doing business much cheaper. So, for example, if we had worker co ops in the business of healthcare, look at what that would mean. We now spend here in the United States more on healthcare than any other advanced capitalist country, and by a lot. That's because our healthcare is not only a for profit business, but is one of the most successful oligopolies in the history of capitalism. An oligopoly is when a very small number of firms are left in an industry, all the others having been competed out of existence, like having many car factories or many car companies, and then it narrows down to Ford and GM and Chrysler, and that's it, the three of them, until the new ones come in. Well, if you have a few, they can jack up the price. We have a very few dominating our healthcare industry, particularly in areas like health insurance, in areas like producing pharmaceuticals, and so forth. Bottom line, we spend more than any other country. And folks have to remember that healthcare is a cost for all the businesses that provide healthcare to their employees. And if they have to pay more for that healthcare, well, then they're going to jack up the price of whatever they produce to pay for that healthcare. And if they jack up the price, they're creating an incentive for everybody in the world, Americans and foreigners alike, to stop buying American goods because they're too high a price, because the producers have to pay so much for healthcare. If we moved to a socialized or nationalized healthcare system that cheapened the price, with or without going to the worker co-op model to run our medical practices, our hospitals, our clinics, our pharmaceutical companies, and all the rest, which we could do. If we cheapen the price, it ramifies, it helps. One of the arguments of socialized medicine has always been you produce cheaper medicine, you make all of your industries that have less of a medical cost to become more competitive. All of that would apply. And worker co ops could be the difference, be the way to bring down the costs, and not just of medical care and of energy, but of food, of transportation, and of many other things. It's a wonderful example of the fact that not only would a conversion from undemocratic, hierarchical, top down capitalist enterprises over into democratically run worker co op enterprises, it's an example that that's not only wonderful for the workers involved, transforming their lives, transforming their feelings about themselves, the skills they can develop, the competencies that they can perfect. But it also has all of these indirect benefits because, of course, a worker co op only has to price its output to cover the costs of the inputs and the wages. There are no profits to give to people who invest in your company. That's gone. We don't have that anymore in a worker co-op society, or at least we don't need to. And so the profit that's in every price of a capitalist enterprise is not a burden in the same way on worker co-ops. And I would go further, as I often have, to argue that worker co-ops make workers have a feeling of their own business, because it's theirs, that will make them more cost conscious, more efficient. Worker co-ops have nothing to worry about in competing with capitalist enterprises. Yeah, they don't drive their workers the way capitalist enterprises do. But remember, capitalist enterprises have to pay extra for supervisors to offset the effect that they drive their workers. All of that is gone in a worker co-op, and the savings could be remarkable. And then for all the other enterprises that use the outputs of worker co-ops as their own inputs. Bottom line, a transition to a worker co-op economy, especially if it focused itself in terms of deciding what to do first and what to do second, if it focused itself on those industries that are the biggest inputs to every other industry, well, then they could maximize the indirect benefits on top of the direct benefits of a transition. We are at the point where we can really move out of and beyond capitalism. And given the problems that capitalism is imposing on the whole world, and especially the United States, there really is no better time than the present to move in that direction. And this question has shown us one of the ways to do it that maximizes, in the short run, the benefits we can see for the economy as a whole. If discussions like this that actually talk about the alternative ways of organizing businesses, instead of that being a taboo topic that no one dares talk about, so we only fix the edges of the system and never challenge the system itself. If this kind of conversation about alternative systems is what you would agree with us is missing in the national conversations about how to solve our social problems, then help us, work with us, partner with us, share these videos with your friends, your coworkers, your family. This is a way where we can maximize our reach and our effectiveness. And of course, if you can help us with the financial needs we have to make all this work happen and distribute it, that would make us all the more appreciative of your partnership. Thank you.